What is up, you beautiful happy hustlers out there? Kerry Jack here, and I hope that you are having a freaking awesome day. Like, seriously, amazing. Now, I hope that if you aren't having a great day, this helps make it better. And in this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast, we have on Mr. Seth Spears, baby. What a name. I like it. He is the founder and CEO of Rewild Gear, an outdoor equipment company whose mission is to help people spend more time in the great outdoors through the design and creation of high quality, minimalistic gear while promoting conservation, sustainable product use, and business practices. And he's also the host of the Adventure Made podcast. And he's also the co-founder and CEO of Wellnesse, an organic personal care brand and product line, as well as the CMO and CTO for wellnessmama.com, the largest website and podcast for moms. You guys are going to love hearing Seth's story. He's a serial entrepreneur and a happy hustler. And we are talking all about building quality products, improving our environmental impact, growing consciousness, and so much more. Now, when you get some value from this one, check out his company, rewildgear.com, and his podcast. I was recently on it. We rocked the mic, Rewild Gear podcast, the Adventure Made podcast. It was awesome connect with him. So I know you're going to get some value from this one, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, without further ado, after a quick message from this episode's sponsor, we're going to dive into the Happy Hustle podcast. Real quick, guys, I just want to give a massive shout out to Newtopia, who is making the world domination box. I'm telling you, this is my go-to for nootropics. When I need a little extra boost of brain power, I take one of these 9 proprietary formulas, and they're each designed for a different part of your day, designed for a different purpose. So you look at, okay, what do I got on the docket today? And then you take the nootropic that is going to serve you. And they're natural, they've been, tested and proven safe. And they also come with a money back guarantee, which is also nice because you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And you guys get the hookup for listening to this podcast. If you want to check them out, you go to newtopia.com/happy hustle, and you guys will save yourself some money on these awesome nootropics. Now, without further ado, we're diving back into this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast. All right, Seth Spears, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my brother. I'm super excited to connect.
Okay, Jack, great to be here, baby.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun one. We got a lot in common. Both avid outdoorsmen and entrepreneurs and happy hustlers. And, one thing that I really appreciate about you is like, you actually care about the planet and your ecological impact when it comes to your company too. And I'm really excited to dive into your entrepreneurial journey and, share your message with the happy hustlers. But before we do, what's something interesting about yourself, Seth, that not too many people know?
Good question. So I actually used to play a whole lot of guitar. I've been playing since I was a teenager, and was in a couple bands in college, and used to play for some retreats in high school and college as well. And unfortunately, I don't get to play that much anymore. I also sang a little bit too. So my family is very musical, but that doesn't happen so much these days just because I'm so busy with business and family and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, that's super cool. I mean, I got a guitar behind me in frame for those of you watching, on YouTube. You guys can see that. But let me tell you, I am not very good. And I need to learn some lessons from Seth, who is a shredder. Well, you used to be probably a lot more, huh? But it's cool, man. You're a busy guy. Like, you got 6 kids, which is a lot of kids. You got multiple companies, not just one. It's pretty cool to see someone like you juggling it all. And I know it's not easy to make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself in all these different areas of life. But I do like to kick things off with a bang. And I want to just ask you, what does work-life balance look like for you?
It's called a constantly moving target. I think we often have this idea that we have to put life, family, fun, business, friendship, relationships, whatever, all in these nice little buckets, like in these
Mm,
boxes, and we compartmentalize them. And it's like it's a pie, right? Where we're balancing it all out. In my experience, it's never quite like that. It's seasonal, where I'll be working really hard during this season, and I'll spend a lot of like downtime with family on this season.
mm,
Then I'll be hunting or out in the outdoors with my brothers or friends or something in this season. Then there's season and trade show season when I'm traveling and just hustling on the business front. So it's a moving target, and it's constantly adjusting and trying to be fully present no matter what I'm doing. And that has been a challenge for me a lot over the years.
yeah.
So that is a skill set that I am constantly trying to learn and exercise that muscle as much as possible.
Well, and it's a great point. Like being fully present in the moment is something I find difficulty with myself, even. And all the happy hustlers out there, they know, especially if you listen to one of the more recent episodes where I talk about the secret to truly happy hustling in each of the 10 alignments, these 10 different areas of life, like you mentioned, the buckets, is focusing on one at a time. You have to give each area equal importance. Like when you're with your family, like you're there, you're present. When you're working, you're there, you're present, you're getting after it. Like you have to give those equal importance, but you have to be there one at a time. And that's, I think, a really big distinction. And I like that you mentioned that. Now, Seth, I do want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
It's been quite the ride. Like you've had all sorts of different ventures, and give us a little, backstory into your entrepreneurial
Yeah.
journey.
Okay. So I like to say I'm an accidental entrepreneur, even though from a very early age, from high school, I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to go into marketing and business and basically be able to provide for myself and not be reliant upon someone else for a job or a career or to, provide sustenance and put food on the table and all of that. So out of college, I was working at a college in Nashville, Tennessee, where I was in the admissions department and recruiting students. Was married, had a couple of kids, and I got really burnt out doing that. Ended up leaving there and started just a little consulting gig, preparing homeschool students or helping homeschool students to prepare for college. Because I was homeschooled in high school, so I knew what needed to be done in order to get ready for college. But there's a lot of things that homeschool students had missed or didn't know, just because either their parents didn't or there wasn't a lot of information out there. And so, having worked at a university and helping recruit students, I knew what was needed on both fronts. So I started a little consulting gig there and realized there's not a whole lot of money doing that. But in this process, I started building a website for myself to market it. And then I had some family and friends who asked me to build websites for them. Just like, hey, you built one for you. Can you do that for me? I'm like,
Yep.
oh, this is kind of cool. And
Been there.
completely self-taught,
Yeah.
focusing on WordPress. And then I'm like, okay, well, when you have a website, how's anybody going to find it? Just because you
Mm,
have a site, people don't know that it's there. So I had to teach myself SEO. So I started doing that. And then this was in the early days of social media as well. So like 2009, 2010. So very different than it is today. And I've always been kind of a tech early adopter and all of that. So if something new is coming down the pipe, I'm checking it out. Let's see what it's all about, what we can do with it. So fast forward, this basically led into me creating a boutique digital marketing agency where I started working with small businesses, doctors, plumbers, attorneys, lawyers. That's redundant, attorneys and lawyers. Just like small local businesses, helping them to get a really good web presence that they can manage
mm,
and control, and focusing on the local SEO side. Well, take us a couple steps back. I also built out a website for my wife. And it was just, she was very interested in health and was kind of documenting her own health journey to figure out health issues that she was going through. And so I used that little blog as a testing ground for the paying clients. Eventually, that little blog turned into a much bigger deal and turned into a business. And became bigger than the paying clients. So I scaled back my agency, Spears Marketing, and focused almost all in on wellnessmama.com. So a very popular health and wellness website, have a podcast and blog and content and education and information. And that became kind of the primary thing over the next several years. I also then started acquiring other websites in the health and wellness space, just seeing that there was an opportunity for a lot of people that they didn't know how to monetize them. And so I recognized an opportunity there. So I could buy them for pennies on the dollar and then use my skill set as far as SEO and affiliate marketing, paid advertising, and make them much more profitable. And so that was kind of the iteration from there. So then fast forward a few more years till 2020, we decided to just launch an e-commerce company. And so in personal care products. And this was based on DIY products and tutorials that my wife Katie had been making in our kitchen for over a decade, like homemade toothpaste and shampoo and
Oh,
conditioner
cool.
and hand sanitizer, and just basic personal care products that everyone needs. So we launched Wellnesse. That's wellness with an E on the end, based on those. And so that's been the main gig over the past couple of years, focusing on growing that because it's definitely a startup still.
Yeah.
It's done well, but it's a growing process for sure. And so we
Oh,
have
yeah.
amazing products, and that's been the I don't know if I call it fun all the time. It's been a challenge for sure, but it's also very rewarding. And then this summer, I launched my new little fun side project called Rewild Gear. And so this is, I know we've talked about this at
Yep.
length today. So this is a fun little side project where we're designing and manufacturing high quality minimalistic gear for the outdoor space. So knives and fire starters and utensils and cookware and things to help people to get out in nature and spend more time in the great outdoors. And so they don't have to think about their equipment because it's just going to work.
Yeah. Love that. Quite the journey, man. It's pretty cool how you went from, just doing it for clients to then doing it for yourself and learning all like some on the job training. I mean, I have a similar, story with building websites with my cousins, like marketing agency, and
Oh,
then
cool.
building my own. And then like, I was like, oh, I can help grow other people's, business with these tools, and then I can grow my own. And it's like, I'm curious, what would you say, just for all the happy hustlers out there who either have a business or are aspiring to have a business, what would you say is like the greatest lesson learned from your days of digital marketing and increasing your SEO?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. There's a
It
lot there.
is.
My formula for success over the years has always been this: do the right things long enough consistently. And
Mm,
that's very nuanced though, because what are the right things? How long is long enough? And what does consistency mean? So, so it's going to be different for everyone. But if you can figure out that for yourself, then
yeah.
you're going to be successful. And to add on to that, I think one of the other key to success is figure out where your skill set is, where your passion lies, and where is there an opportunity in the market. Because if you can
Mm,
find that conflux of skill and ability, interest, passion, and then opportunity, that's where you're going to be successful, as long as you follow those other parameters of do the right things long enough consistently.
yeah. Love that, man. That's fire. That's some good stuff. And, I think a lot of people quit early. It's sad that they get so close. I always think of that, that comic meme or whatever. It's like this guy digging, and he's digging, digging, digging. He's like so close to the diamond, but he's like maybe a couple pickaxe swings away to breaking through, and then turns around, and goes back and calls it quits. And it's oftentimes that persistent consistency that I like to call it, that gets you to the next level, and you have to persevere.
Oh, totally. I completely agree. And I've got a lot of friends who I call them wannabe entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They have all these ideas and they'll start something, but they're just not consistent enough to see it through. And they're so close, but they get burnt out. And it's like having that stick to itiveness where you can just see it through to
Yep.
actually have some success because they're right on the verge. And I think that's what separates the winners from, I don't want to say losers, but from those that are successful versus those that aren't, that give up on their dream and go back to the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. You got to have that grit,
Yeah.
it's just, it's a part of being an entrepreneur, having the grit, the gusto,
Mhm.
I'll even just share a little anecdote I mentioned to you in the pre-chat, but like I was up late working on my book funnel launch, doing these little things. Even though my developers and my team handles a lot of it, I was going back through, double checking the automations, double checking the
Oh, yeah.
email, and it's like there's still things missing. But it's
Mhm.
like, if you want success, you have to take accountability. Like,
Yes.
no one cares about your book funnel or your business or your podcast or your product or whatever more than you do. You have to realize
100%.
that's a fact, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to inspect what you expect. And I've seen that a lot over the years where just because you're hiring someone, even they might be the best in the industry or what they do, but everybody makes mistakes now and then. It's not like it's intentional. Sometimes things just slip through the cracks. Maybe you're rushing through or just overworked or busy or tired or whatever the case may be. So it's good to have a second set of eyes and the best set of eyes is often where the buck stops, and that's with you or me. As the business owner, as the entrepreneur, we got to inspect what we expect from those we're hiring to do those tasks.
Yeah, inspect what you expect. I like that. Now, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people out there listening right now, they want to grow their awareness. That's a big part of the struggle, I think, with early stage entrepreneurship is getting eyeballs and awareness and attention really truly is like the new precious commodity. And I'm curious, how do you increase awareness with your different brands and your different businesses online?
Um, there's a lot of different strategies, but I think it's more than just what tactics are you using. To me, it's all about authenticity. There's so many people when they start out online and they're just trying to mimic what else is out there because they see an opportunity and they're like, oh, this person is doing this or that person is doing that. And I can just follow along with what they're doing because it's working for them and that'll work for me. Sometimes that might be the case, but that copycat mentality doesn't typically work long term. You got to
Mm,
be really authentic and figure out who you are. What is your skill set? What do you enjoy doing? And what are you passionate about? Because if you're authentic to that, and no matter what the industry is, and just go really deep with that and be the most authentic version of you, there's some people that are going to follow along. Kevin Kelly, writer for Wired magazine, he wrote an article several years ago called "1,000 True Fans." And it was all about in any business or industry, if you can build something and you have 1,000 true believers or true fans, you're going to be successful because that's enough, pretty much no matter what industry or business that you're doing, that you have enough followers that you can monetize that.
yeah.
And I've kind of followed that idea over the years of just be authentically me in all of our businesses and go really deep on that because those who want to be part of your tribe, they'll find you and follow you. And those that aren't a good fit anyway, it'll turn them off and they'll walk away.
Yeah. And that's really a great point. Authenticity is so imperative now more than ever because of like the facades people put on with social media and the filters and all the materialistic BS. Like, is that a rented Lambo? Do you own it? Do you actually have the title? Or is it just a play for the video? It's like there's a lot of fake BS out there. And I really do agree, having a select group of ride or dies, people who are
Yep.
like true happy hustlers. Those are my people, people who want to have blissful balance, in the personal life and the professional life. Like if you're a grinder and you're trying to like Gary Vee it and like get after and build this massive conglomerate, probably not your guy. But if
Yeah.
you want to be happy within the hustle and have like this holistic lifestyle, listen up, fam, because we out here, we're doing it. And it's like, you got to just be true to yourself, and like I think that's a really great point. Now speaking of being true to yourself, you also have to have a product or service that's quality, and I think it's like not only just being real and true, but you actually have to serve others with your product or service or your business. And I know you've built some quality products, and I'm interested to hear your recipe in doing so.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've never thought about it as far as what the recipe that I've used. It's more just about, well, my personal motto has always been quality over quantity. Focus on those things that I'd rather buy once and cry once than, pay less, like the Walmart mentality. Let's go buy this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when it's going to break and I'm going to have to buy it again.
So
I'd
true.
rather buy the higher end item and it's going to last me so much longer, if not forever. And then, that's going to be passed down because that gets into what we were talking about beforehand, sustainability
Yeah.
and eco consciousness and all of those things, because we live in such a microwave culture in society where we want everything now, but we're not thinking about the long-term effects of that. The plastic components and parts that are going to end up in a landfill and what
Yeah.
is their half-life and how long is it going to take for them to decompose down, as opposed to something, everything used to be built out of metal and so it would last so much longer. And now we've replaced those things with plastic and it breaks and it's cheaper. And so it's just throwaway. And so this consumerist culture in which we live, I don't think it's healthy and it's not sustainable for the planet, for ourselves, for our mental well-being either.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Like sustainable quality products, buy once, cry once. That's a good
Yeah.
model, like I even just think of this example right here. if you can see, this is my primitive longbow for those of you
Yeah.
just, listening. Like this was a custom made primitive self bow that was really crafted with love and care and quality and custom made arrows. And it's like there's a much cheaper bow and arrow, especially like pieces of wood, like this style. But I invested in it because of the quality of the care and because I knew the supply chain, and I know it's my buddy Corey Hawks with Organic Archery, and it's really important to now more than ever become a conscious consumer. And I know you're big on this. And it's like one of my other companies with my brother, Eco Breakthroughs, we're a B corporation in the process of getting fully certified. But that is like the creme de la creme, the standard for sustainable regenerative business practices. So if you want just a down and dirty, like happy hustle hack in being a conscious consumer, support more B corporations because they're doing the right thing.
100%. Yeah. Our personal care line, Wellnesse, is a certified B corporation as
I
well.
love it. Yep. I remember you telling me that.
That's a lot of paperwork, man. I mean,
yeah, it is.
it's not easy to go through it, but their standards are very strict, and that's to keep out the greenwashers and those who are just doing it as a marketing ploy, and they're not really in it for the right reasons. So there's a lot of fakes out there. And so trying to be just authentic and consistent is so important.
Yeah. Tell us some of the products with Wellnesse.
Yeah. So our best-selling product is our toothpaste. It's a remineralizing and whitening toothpaste. It's fantastic. We sell more of that than all of our other products. We just launched a charcoal toothpaste as well. So it's great for whitening your teeth, and it works well in conjunction with the whitening.
Get some of that.
Yeah. We got two.
Drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I love coffee. We have 2 shampoos and 2 conditioners, one for regular hair, one that's a little bit more designed for curly hair. However, I actually think that the curly hair version works better than the regular. So we also have a hand sanitizer and 2 dry shampoos, for one for any color hair and one for lighter hair. And then we have a floss and a toothbrush as well. We've got some additional products coming down the pipe beginning of next year.
Super cool, man. And where can people go to check all those out?
Yeah, that's just wellnesse.com. So it's wellness with an E on the end. So WELLNESSE.com.
Wellnesse.com. Y'all check that out. And, there's something to be said about working with your significant other, and I know you don't have it all figured out. I don't have it all figured out. Like it's tough. And I'm just curious what you do have figured out. Can you share with us some of the effective strategies when you are working with your significant other?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I definitely do not have this figured out. It's been a journey over the years for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just focusing on what you're both best at and trying to stay in your lanes and figuring out who is going to make decisions where. Because often it can be a power struggle at times, and like, oh, this is my decision. No, that's my decision. Well, it shouldn't be a fight. It shouldn't be like a power struggle at all, because the end goal is the same. And so it's trying to get on the same page there, and just understanding the other person and what they need, and having clear and open communication as much as possible, so that you're both on the same page and things don't go left unsaid and there's not resentment that builds up. And again, this is something that I am working on every day, and do not proclaim to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. No, it's tough, man. I find, that being one of the more difficult things in business is to do it with someone you love and care about. Just because you have that history, and you talk to each other differently. One of the things that when I was working with my significant other with one of our early businesses, it was called the Model Training Agency. And, we were building this online course and brand, blah, blah, blah. The point that I want to extract, one of the things that I did find effective for us was autonomy in our roles. And I think if you both have, like Seth said, things that you're great at, and you have autonomy in that position, it makes it easier, knowing also that you're on the same team and that you're both striving for the same goal.
Yeah. Something I'd add to that as well is it can often be helpful, whether you're working with a significant other or with a team, some personality tests to learn what someone's skill set is, what they're naturally more inclined to do. So a couple that we've used over the years, love languages is a pretty easy one. That's, that overlaps into business as well as interpersonal. The Colby test the Fascinate test. One that I'm really starting to dig into right now is called My Human Design. And this
Mm,
has been really fascinating. So there's some people that say that it's kind of like astrology. It's not quite the same though. And I just learned about this a month or so ago. And so
hmm.
they call it the human design experiment. Because
I'll
basically
check that.
yeah, it's like myhumandesign.com, I believe is the website. So you put in your name, your date of birth, your time of birth, and city of birth. And then it spits out your energy type, how you show up, the type of energy, what you need to be most effective.
Mm,
The way you show up in different manners, how you process information, the type of intuition that you have, and a lot of different factors like that. And so they call it the human design experiment because they're not saying you should change your whole life based on this, but just experiment with it. So look at what it says, the output, and then just have a little experiment with yourself. Try to lean into that and just see how life works out. So I've been doing that. It's been really fascinating to see. So
mm,
for example, I've always been a go-getter, let's go, let's make it happen and move and do the thing. I've also always felt like I've had to fight for everything. I grew up
mm.
lower middle class. All my success, I feel like I've had to fight for it and really just push the envelope, and that's exhausting. So
Yeah.
what I found out through this is that um, my natural state of being is, they call it the projector. And so you're not meant to be like the generator where you're going out and making things happen. It's almost like, you do your research and all the work, but you wait for that invitation where it just makes sense. And maybe you just feel it in your gut, like an intuition. Oh, I should do this, but wait for someone to give an invitation and then you push forward with it. And so it's not quite as just fighting for everything and being so proactive all the time. And as I've been doing this, it's been really interesting to see as far as like relationships and friendships and business opportunities. And just, it seems like things have been easier and just flowing more naturally. So again, I've only been experimenting with this for a few weeks, but it's been very interesting so far.
Super cool. Yeah, I agree. I think self-quantification and assessments, like personally, I've taken the Myers-Briggs and the DISC and
Oh, wow.
um, a bunch
Little
of others.
dynamics and yeah, so many.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the self-assessment piece is what's important here, and I personally, I have the Happy Hustler assessment, that I measure myself in every Sunday with my own proprietary formula of, the soul mapping framework. And the
Yeah,
Happy Hustlers know, you can get that, thehappyhustle.com/assessment, shameless plug, for free. It's just a quick assessment. However, I just think it's important to do that deep introspection, whether you
for
try
sure.
the My Human Experiment or My Human Design. It's important to just get that information, those data points, so you
Yeah,
can make informed decisions. And also, if you are an entrepreneur and you have a team, yeah, definitely have your team take these too. Because one thing that I like to do with my team as well is I like to do like quarterly reviews of the things that they had the most fun with in terms of workflow. Like, hey, what did you really enjoy this last quarter? Like, what did you really enjoy doing? Because I want to give you more of those type of tests, because obviously, studies show a happier employee is going to produce better
yeah.
results. And it's just something, again, you ask, you get data points, and then you make informed decisions.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. The other thing I'd say about personality tests is that so many people, they take them as verbatim and like, oh, well, I'm an INTJ or whatever. And so this is how I
Yeah.
have to live my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's almost like they limit themselves
Oh
based
yeah.
on that test. And so what I've always said is that you are not a personality test. You are so much more than that. And if you're limiting what you do or what you think you can do based on that, well, then maybe you should question that and not take any more tests, because just push yourself at times. And I'm saying this as a person who apparently is not supposed to push himself so much, but it's really interesting to think about, because I just have too many friends and acquaintances that they base everything that they do or what they think they can or cannot do based on that test, as opposed to actually experimenting to see, well, what happens if I do push a little bit, or what if I don't?
Yeah. Yeah. That reminded me of um, a lot of my fellow I would say entrepreneurs, some of my former biohacking clients when I was running a biohacking company. And just a lot of people I see online, they rock these wearable devices. For example, an Aura ring or
Got one on right now.
yeah, or a watch, whatever those watches are, the Whoop and all. There's
It's
so many
incredible.
wearables,
Yep.
and they get up and they're like, oh shit, my sleep score was a 70. I'm gonna have a terrible day, and then you like program your subconscious to think that this is your reality. And
Yeah.
in fact, yeah, maybe you didn't sleep as great, but it doesn't have to be your destiny. You control your reality, your decisions, yes, have consequences, but they also, you can push past the diversity. And I just think it's important. Yes, look at the data from your aura ring, for example. Yes, make informed decisions, but also don't let that dictate, your future.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And I have a love-hate relationship with all of them as well. Being in the
Yeah.
health and wellness industry for 15 years or whatever,
Yeah.
been to all the conferences and done all the biohacking things and everything.
Yeah.
And so like I go back and forth on wearing the Oura ring to track my sleep and activity. And often I'll find that, oh, I felt like I slept great. And I'll look at my score. I'm like, well, apparently I didn't, or vice versa, where it's like, I feel like I didn't sleep very good. And my Oura ring says that I slept a lot better than I felt like I did. So it's, it's data, but don't let that define you
Exactly.
and how you feel or how your day is going to be.
Yeah, it's a good point. And personally said, I subscribe to the less is more approach to when it comes to health, performance, wellness. There's some certain things I do that are like non-negotiables, i.e. getting cold every day, getting hot every day in an infrared sauna, and taking an ice bath, and like, taking my supplements. I occasionally take some of these nootropics from Newtopia, a company under by optimizers, when I need a little push, but like for the most part, I was in the biohacking game real deep, and I just find that less truly is more. And unless you are doing regular blood work, like test, don't guess, like you have to know where you're deficient. Don't just take something because it had good marketing and sales copy. Like do some research, if you see where you're deficient, where the environmental genetic mismatch is, where the vitamin and mineral deficiencies are, where the toxins are, in your life, and then make us again informed decisions.
Yeah, definitely agree there, because when it comes to health, it's so personalized and there is no
Yeah.
one size fits all. You've got all these different doctors and gurus and everyone else saying, eat this, take that.
Yeah.
And, this is like a superfood. It's good for everyone. Well, no, it's not. We're so biologically different that we need more personalization. There's a company that I started working with called Kenkora, Kenkora.com. And they do this very, very deep health assessments. So they draw your blood, take your labs, they pull your genetic info, and they spit out what type of foods are best for you based on your genetic makeup and your biology, and also what supplements you might need to take. What foods you should avoid, what supplements you should avoid, what type of activity level you need, the amount of sleep. And so they have so much data, and they're using AI to replicate all of this to basically build an algorithm so that it can get even more personalized. So it's a really fascinating process and really interesting company.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that. What did you say? Kenkora?
Kenkora, Kenkora.com.
And do they have doctors who actually interpret the blood work as well as the AI?
Yeah, they have doctors, and right now it's in beta. So their doctors are manually doing it, but they're putting all this anonymized data into their system. And so it's building out the algorithm. And the more data they get, the better it's going to be.
Huh, super cool.
It's all completely anonymized and everything as well. So there's no privacy issues or anything there.
Yeah, right on. I like that. Well, speaking of health, Seth, I do like to ask all my happy hustling guests a couple different questions in a couple different disciplines, and health is one of them. It's really important if you want to be successful in any capacity to have your health optimized, both mentally and physically. And I like to call these happy hustle hacks, something that Seth does that maybe is a tip, a tool, a tactic, something that, really does add value to your life. Can you share a happy hustle hack for health for us?
Yeah, let me give a couple if that works, because I've experimented with a
Just
lot
one,
of
Seth, please. Just one.
Just one?
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. Again, everyone is different. So what's going to work for you? For me, it's trying to get in nature as much as possible, because I find I'm able to reconnect and down-regulate my system, because whenever I can get away from my computer, from my phone, all of these things, that's helpful. You mentioned it already, getting hot, getting cold. Like I have a sauna and a cold plunge, and I try to do that several days a week.
Yep.
Drink lots of water and get enough sleep. those are all kind of the core basics. And, try to move every day in some capacity. I need to be
Hmm.
lifting more weights than I do, but it's a time thing. But I try to at least go for a walk or, a quick jog or something just to move my body. And because we're designed to move. And unfortunately, in this very sedentary lifestyle we live just in front of a computer and in an office, that's not what humans were meant to do. So we need more of these natural elements. Um,
Yeah.
eat healthy as much as possible, like real food. Lots of meats and proteins and vegetables, fruits and nuts and things and not processed crap. So, it's like a combination of all of those things is kind of the core. And I try to 80/20 it as well. I'm not perfect with it for sure.
Hmm.
80% of the time, I'm eating really healthy and getting sunlight and getting cold and all of those things. And then the other 20% of time where, just kind of have a cheat day, or if I'm traveling and it's a little harder to.
Yeah. Yeah. You brought up some great points. And again, what it reminds me of is like, it's simple, but it's not easy to do those things, to eat healthy, to exercise and go on a regular walk, get outside in nature. They're all simple, but they're not easy. You have to just have the discipline, and that's what's important.
And that goes back to the point that I made at the beginning of the show, doing the right things long enough consistently.
Yep. Amen to that. Now let's talk about money. I always like
Yeah.
to talk about money. I think it's important to be transparent and, share a happy hustle hack in this area, something that you do to save, to spend, or to invest wisely that, you've seen success with.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different for me. When I was growing up, my parents raised me to be pretty frugal. And so we kind of had like an 80/20 or 80/10/10 rule. So everything that I would make, and I had like jobs and chores, didn't get an allowance. So if I made $10, $8 of those would go in a jar that I could spend. $1 would go into another jar for savings. Another dollar would go into a jar for tithing or giving back to charity or something like that. So I've tried to follow that over the years, and it's more than that now because I'm not only just saving 10%, it's more than that. And like for charity, we'll give more than that as well. But as far as investing goes, like I'm not really a big fan of the stock market because to me, there's so many things that are out of my control.
Mm.
That I feel like it's gambling. And if I
Yeah.
want to gamble, I'm going to go to Vegas because that's a hell of a lot more fun than just
Yeah.
throwing money at a company that, is either boring or they're corrupt or they're not even following a mission that I would go along with. Maybe their sustainability is not good, their environmental practices, maybe there's human rights issues. So I'm not just going to invest in something if I don't agree with the mission and if I can't control it. So typically I've done a decent amount of angel investing over the years, specifically in the natural health space, because that's something I feel like I can control because I'll meet the founders and see what the mission is and trust them. And, it's a product or a service or what they're providing is really high quality, and then I can get behind it. And then because being in the health space and getting a lot of traffic and because the skill
Mm.
set that I have and the platform that we built, I can help drive that
Yeah.
revenue by sending traffic there or sales or whatnot. So that's been very effective over the years. But that's not something that a lot of people can replicate, unfortunately. So you kind of already need a platform or be in the space to do that.
Yeah.
But I think as far as what is replicatable is figuring out what do you know a lot about? What industry are you in? Where do you have more information that the average Joe doesn't so that you can make a more educated guess?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. And I also like the 80/10/10 principle, and a big thing for me has been just to automate that savings automates, goes to that account. My philanthropic different causes, they get pulled right from my account every single month. I don't even have to do anything, and it just goes right to Sea Shepherd and Kiva and all these different like nonprofits that I support. Um, I just I think it's really important to automate it, because human nature will allow it to slip through the cracks, right?
Yeah, for sure. And if that's something that you have to manually do yourself, you're like, oh, I don't know, that seems like a lot of money, or
Yeah, exactly.
things are a little tighter this month. So then
Yeah,
you hold off and then but if you don't think about it, you're not even seeing it, then it doesn't feel like a loss at all.
yeah, good point. Let's talk about spirituality. I always like to talk about just connecting with the higher power, and having faith in something bigger than yourself. What's something that you do, maybe a happy hustle hack in this arena that you can share?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I feel like I'm kind of on that journey to figure out a lot of those things, as I think a lot of people are now. I grew up Catholic, and while I don't really follow along with a lot of those things these days, I think there's something greater out there. the nature of faith is believing in something that you can't necessarily prove. And that's always been tough for me. But realizing that there is something more, just
Yeah.
looking up at the stars at night, and we seem so small compared to that. So for me, I've started doing a lot more meditation and combined with breath work. So really that's my meditation is breath work. I don't know if you know Josh Trent, but he runs Wellnesse.
Yeah, Josh, my bro. I'm talking to him next
Yeah,
week.
Josh is great. So he really has gotten me into doing a lot of breath work, and really just focusing on that. And I find that it really calms me,
Yeah.
helps me to connect more with myself, with my
Yeah.
body, with spirit, et cetera, and helps me to just become better all around, because it's so easy in the day to day to get all stressed out or full of anxiety. And so when you can calm down and think about your breath, which is something that happens unconsciously, we don't really think about breathing, it just happens. But when you slow down and actually start to think about that, then it downregulates our nervous system, and it's easier to connect and get more present. And
Mm.
that helps build better relationships and friendships and business and so many things.
Yeah, and it's scientifically proven that 6 deep breaths actually change your state. So, and it hyperoxygenates your whole body. And a lot of times people are doing these shallow breaths all day, like
Yeah.
in through the nose. And when you actually take deep breaths and you practice breath work, there's so many benefits. I really like that you brought that up. I was doing some this morning even, and it's a important way for me to tap into my spiritual practices to hyperoxygenate with breath
Yeah.
work. So great point there. Seth, this has been great. Before we dive into the rapid fire round, where's some links to where people can go to check out more about you, listen to your podcast, to maybe
Sure.
pick up some Rewild gear or some Wellnesse gear?
Yeah, totally. So rewildgear.com is our website for my outdoor brand. We have the Adventure Made podcast that is linked to there, which Carrie, you've been on, and I bring on guests that are experts in the outdoor space to come and tell their stories, and just trying to be inspirational, aspirational, to get people to, and men specifically, to spend more time in the great outdoors so we can reconnect with family and friends, and focus on conservation efforts and sustainability. So that's my fun side project right now. Wellnesse.com is my personal care line of products, where we have the toothpaste and the shampoo and conditioner, so oral, skin, and mouth care, or that's redundant as well, oral, hair, and skincare. That's wellnesse.com. And wellnessmama.com is our website that is all content-based for moms primarily, not entirely, but content, education, information about natural living and DIYs and tutorials and health articles. And the Wellness Mama podcast has almost 500 episodes there. So that's incredibly popular. And then my old marketing firm, which I don't do much with anymore, is spearsmarketing.com. So you're welcome to check that out too.
Cool, man. Great links. I got to connect your wife with my mom. My mom's a holistic OG. She's a
Nice.
chiropractor by trade and functional medicine nutritionist. And she is such an OG biohacker before it was even a
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And I grew up super holistic, like it would be a good connection, I feel. So remind me after the show for that one. But let's dive into the rapid fire round. This is where I just ask random questions and you answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Favorite movie? Go.
The Godfather.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Favorite book?
Man's Search for Meaning.
What's your
Viktor
spirit
Frankl.
animal?
The Wolf.
The first hustle, the first thing you did for money?
Mowing lawns.
Nice. Best business advice?
Do the right things long enough consistently.
If you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content, what is that billboard going to read?
Question everything.
I like it. And 3 things you're most grateful for?
My life, my family, and the opportunity for success.
Nice, Seth. You crushed that round, man. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, brother. Appreciate you sharing your love, your light, your wisdom. I know Tony linked us up, and shout out to him. And, it's just really cool to, hear your story and to see how you're showing up in the world. And also to see people like you who are very conscious on the impact for humanity and the planet with their business practices, yet still not sacrificing success or quality in the process, but actually improving upon those things. And it's just, I acknowledge you for that, brother. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a journey over the years, and it's not always easy, but it's one of those things you got to be true to yourself. And if
Yep.
you can't wake up in the morning and be proud of who you are and what you've done, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. So any last words to the happy hustlers before I ask you the final question?
Um, Go out there and do something positive to affect someone's life today.
Love it. And final question, what does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling to me means to focus on what I'm best at, try to delegate out those things that I either don't enjoy or I'm not that good at, so that I can focus on my sphere of influence and my own personal genius, so that I can have more fun and work hard. And if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work, because you enjoy it, and you'll do more of it, and you're going to be have more fun and be more successful, and life will just be better all around.
Mic drop. Seth Spears, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love.